Hello everyone and welcome to the Aces Loaded podcast. I'm Zack Bayrouty coming to you this episode from Sutter Health Park in beautiful Sacramento, where the Aces are in the midst of a 6-game series with the River Cats. Coming up on this episode, we're going to talk with Aces pitcher Ryan Weiss. He'll tell us a little bit about his journey to Reno, some of the obstacles he had to overcome in his personal life as well. Also, our Zack on the Road segment will break down what happened to the trade deadline and how it affected the Aces. We'll get you caught up on some of the player movement and to let you know how some former Aces are doing as they've made their way up to the Diamondbacks in the big leagues. So stick around. We'll chat with Aces pitcher Ryan Weiss next on the Aces Loaded podcast. Welcome back to the Aces Loaded podcast. We're here in Sacramento today as the Aces getting set to wrap up their 6-game series with the River Cats. I'm Zack Bayrouty. I'm joined by Ryan Weiss, Aces pitcher. How you doing, man?
Good, man. How you doing?
I'm doing well. It's a little warm here today, but we're getting through it.
Yeah, it's Sacramento, so it's always gonna be hot.
a little less humid than Ohio, I'd imagine.
Yeah, Ohio's not really that humid, and it's not 100 degrees. So.
Well, let's delve in, and I want to talk about your family, and there's a lot of stuff to unpack there. But I want to talk about first your getting into baseball and your upbringing. How did you get into baseball, and at what point in your life did it kind of take root with you?
Yeah, so in high school I started as like a freshman year. I feel like that's how most kids are. They're baseball, basketball, football, and then sophomore year I kind of got away from football. It was after my dad had passed, but got away from football and then played basketball and baseball. But then in junior year, I think everybody that I was playing basketball with, for the most part, they all switched over to baseball, like baseball only. And so it was kind of my friend group. I was like, all right, so then we'll just do baseball. So then we all just kind of did baseball. And then I wanted to play basketball senior year because I hit my growth spurt and I wanted to hoop again. But then I talked to one of my coaches and he was like, you going to go to college for baseball or for basketball? I was like, well, maybe for baseball sort of deal, because I wasn't that good. Yeah. So that's kind of, baseball kind of chose me. I didn't really choose it. So
how about getting into pitching? That's such a unique craft, and I think from a young age you try and develop what you like to throw, and you start looking into how you throw curveballs and change-ups and all that. But when did pitching become a love of yours? Yeah,
I didn't start pitching until my junior year of high school. So once I did that, I started gaining some velo here and there, and then I had a really good summer going into my freshman year of college. I didn't know where I was going to go yet, but had a couple good outings, and then got some interest from Wright State, and that's ultimately where I ended up going. But I mean, Wright State, we win a lot, and it's a great place to be as a baseball player. But I mean, the way they recruited then was they just recruited a lot of like athletic kids that could potentially be a really good baseball player, but they wanted to kind of mold athletes into being a baseball player, and I definitely fit that mold. I mean, I wasn't that good of a baseball player in high school. I mean, I hadn't even hit 90 while I was in high school. I didn't do it until after my senior year. So yeah, Wright State was great to me.
I was in Stockton for a number of years, and I ran into Sean Murphy, who came up through the A's system, who's now the A's #1 catcher. But I would imagine if a program produces a guy like that, they're doing something right.
Yeah, he got drafted in 2016, I think. 2016, so that was my freshman year. I was hurt, so I only got to throw to him in the fall because I got hurt in the spring. But I mean, he's incredible. I mean, even my freshman year, we were like, Murph's he's gonna be something, and we didn't know what it was because he had some injuries here and there. But yeah, I mean, obviously he's killing it now. He's a big league catcher. He's a starting catcher, like you said. He's their #1. They're doing really well, so it's been really fun to watch him.
How about this year for you? You started in Amarillo. You were in Visalia in 19. I saw you pitch there a little bit. What was it like getting a midseason call up to AAA, and did you anticipate it?
Yeah, I mean, it was different because I was a starter for most of the season in Amarillo, and then I got moved to the bullpen for like 2 weeks, and then I got called up. So it was pretty cool getting called up. I mean, promotions are never guaranteed. I mean, they're few and very far between. I mean, like you said, I was in high A, and then I got sent to AA out of spring training, but then after that, there's only 2 promotions left. So being able to get to AAA, it's really cool, and just being able to be here with these guys and play with a lot of people that I've never played with before. It's been really cool.
You've worked almost exclusively as a starter your entire career. With Reno, you've come out of the bullpen 8 appearances so far. What's the difference been mentally for you in having to go from being a starter to working out of the pen?
Yeah, being a starter, it's much easier because you know when you're going to pitch. Out of the bullpen, obviously you have no idea, but I mean, as you said, we're going to get into my story a little bit here, but my whole life has been kind of like a reaction. It's something's happened, and then what do you do to follow that, right? And so that's kind of how the bullpen is. It's like, all right, you got to be ready, and then react. Your name gets called, react. Go pitch in either the 7th or the 10th or whatever it may be. And so I think it's been really good for me. So.
Tell us a little bit about your stuff and your repertoire and what you like to throw and what you like to throw in certain situations.
Yeah, so I have fastball, curveball, slider, changeup, and then honestly, whatever count, depends on the hitter, depends on scouting reports. It could vary on every hitter, every count. So hopefully my fastball's there that day, so hopefully all my off-speed is. That's not how it always is, but yeah, hopefully I have everything in the tank that day.
Is there a secondary pitch that is a favorite of yours and you like to lean on in certain situations?
Like I said, it just depends on what the hitter is showing me, depends what his swings are showing me, depends what the catcher sees throughout that day and through the scouting report, so it really does vary.
What if someone asks you what's your secondary pitch that's like your plus, what would you identify?
Maybe slider, maybe. We're trying to get it there. Like I said, it just varies. Hopefully I can have as much confidence in every pitch for that situation.
Again, we're talking with Ryan Weiss, which is a real tough name to say for a kid from Boston here on the Aces Loaded podcast. Ryan Weiss. South Elgin, Ohio. Take us into South Elgin and what that environment is like.
Yeah, so that's where I grew up, South Elgin. It was cool. I got to play for the Kane County Cougars back in 2019. I spent some time there in Low A, and so it was like 20 minutes from where I grew up, so it was great. But yeah, I mean, we don't have a ton of guys that are in pro ball from that area. I know another kid, Ryan Newtoff. He's with the Reds. He's been doing really well too, but not many of us. So trying to hold it down for us.
Well, let's get into your family a little bit, and you have a very unique story, and a lot of you maybe have heard it. But your dad took his own life when you were 14. What was that? It's silly to say. It's such a simple question. What was that like for you?
Yeah, I mean, it was tough. I mean, when you're 14, you don't expect anything like that to happen. So, like I said, it happened, and I had to learn how to grow up at a young age, and I had to figure out how to slowly become a man. Like I said, I don't know if I was ready for it at that age. I don't know how many 14-year-olds are, but I had to figure it out. Had to be there for my family. I mean, I know I was only 14, but I mean, that was the father figure in my life. And so from that, I've learned so much, though, and if it wasn't for that, I definitely don't think I'd be here today. So it was, I think for me, it was great. I mean, because my story is very unique, and it's really powerful, too. So for me, I mean, I wish I didn't have to go through that to learn what I have now, but I mean, it was a huge blessing to be able to learn what I have through all that adversity.
I lost my dad when I was 27, and it was expected in a short window, but unexpected for me to lose my dad at 64. And I remember he was, going to pass away, and he wondered out loud like how people would remember him. And one of the favorite questions that people might ask me is, "Hey, what was your dad like?" So I'll ask you, what was your dad like? Because I feel like when I answer that, I'm giving him, I'm still giving him a little bit of life and allowing people to see him through a prism of love and what he gave me. But what was your dad like?
He was a 12-year-old living inside of a 50-year-old man's body. He was just a big kid. He coached me in anything. I mean, whether it was baseball, basketball, football, no matter whatever he could coach me, and he did. Him and I had a great relationship. I mean, my parents were divorced, so it was a great way for him and I to still stay connected because I played sports so much. It was every day for the whole year for the most part. Obviously, at practices that you didn't have here and there, but no, he was awesome. He taught me how to have fun. He was incredibly outgoing. I mean, if he met someone in the elevator, he wouldn't have their number within like 5 minutes. So that's just how he was. And And so, yeah, I definitely got some of that from him.
Sounds like a little bit of my dad too, just very soulful and outgoing. Do you recognize now some of the characteristics and qualities of yourself that your dad may have had? Oh, you're good. Jake McCarthy making a cameo. You're fine. You're fine. No, you're good, dude. You're good. Are there any qualities that you kind of know within yourself that belong to him?
Yeah, definitely just being very upbeat, being very positive. I know it sounds kind of twisted because he did take his own life, but for most of his life he was incredibly positive, always happy, and so just trying to take that. I mean, I want people to remember him kind of through me too. I want to be the life of his name too. That's why I say all the time, I want to make his name greater than it ever was. And I mean, that's not easy to do, but I mean, that's what I'm trying to do. So.
You lost your mom a few years later. You were a junior at Wright State. She had lupus, right? And she passed away from complications related to lupus, and you had to help try and give her CPR. And I mean, for all you'd been through before, that obviously is another huge hurdle. What was that experience like to be in it and then ultimately get through it?
Yeah, at that time I was 21, I think. I had just turned 21. So again, yeah, I was still fairly young. I mean, when you go through something like that at 14, it seems like you're a lot older. I mean, and even when you bring up your dad passing at 27, like that's still at a young age. Mm-hmm. And so it sucked. I mean, it was terrible. But I had so much experience going through loss from my dad, and because they were both very sudden passings, it wasn't like a cancer where it was just you just see your family relative or whoever it may be dwindling down sort of deal. She was great. I mean, she was incredibly lively. She was always having a ton of fun, and so for me dealing with that, I just kind of knew, I'm like, you know what? I was going to go. I was obviously in college. My sister was about to go off to college too, and for me, it was just like almost like a realization, like this is God's plan. I mean, at that point in my life, that's the most present God was in my life, and obviously He's even more now. So, but I mean, God was able to help me through that. Friends and family, and they were tremendous through that time too. But yeah, I mean, it did suck. I mean, but I've learned so much through that, and I've had to grow up and do a bunch of things differently than I would have done if she was here. But like I said, I mean, if it wasn't for stuff like that, I wouldn't be the person I am today. And I don't know who I would have been if that wasn't the case, but I don't have to worry about that because I guess this is God's plan for me, and I'm not going to question it.
You're a big advocate of mental health, and I feel like that's something that is stigmatized for men. I feel like, as boys growing up and then eventually as men, we're taught to power through, and, you take these things on your shoulders and you get through them and you don't show any signs of weakness. Why is it like that for men in your journey and what you've discovered about mental health and mental health awareness?
Yeah, I think it's because we're supposed to be tough. We're supposed to be the tough guys. We're supposed to not let anything bother us, and going along with the stigma, with the stereotype, is that women are supposed to be the criers and all that. It's like, you know what? You don't have to cry to be weak. I mean, there's so many guys. I'm sure you can go around the clubhouse or go around and ask fans today at the game. I mean, everyone's got something going on, no matter how you show it. Everybody has something going on. And so just understanding that if someone has like a bad day, like understand whatever they're showing you is probably not what's wrong with them. There's probably something beneath that. And so for me, I mean, obviously what's happened in my life has kind of given me a little bit of a platform to be able to talk about this stuff, and it has. But if I didn't react the way I did from those passings, then I wouldn't have a platform. If I chose to go to drugs or chose to go to drink, I wouldn't be able to have this platform. And so that's what I want people to know, is that if something like that happens, you can seek out therapy. You can seek out friends and family. It doesn't have to be a therapist. It doesn't have to be a guidance counselor in high school. It can be a friend. It can be someone that you trust. But understand that when you have those conversations with those people, understand that you have to trust them and make sure that they trust you, because if there's no trust there, then what are you really doing?
What sparked you to seek help and to seek something to lean on and someone to lean on?
I just knew I couldn't do it all on my own. There was just no way. No 14-year-old, no 21-year-old. I mean, even now, no 24-year-old can do this on their own. They're not supposed to. That's why you see. I mean, I'm engaged. I'm about to get married. Like I can't do this on my own. Thank you. But yeah, I can't do it on my own. I need her. She's in terms of when we're talking about Christ and talking about the Lord. Like, that's unity. That's what God wants us. We're not supposed to live life alone. And so understanding that, having him at the forefront of our relationship, and then us doing everything together in unity, that's what life is supposed to look like. Not yourself pushing people away.
When you advocate for mental health, obviously you have reason to do it for yourself and for your own well-being, but I'd imagine some of that is also related to your dad, and maybe thinking that he could have had some help and gotten through that. Is that accurate, me saying that?
Yeah, I mean, it's no what's the term? It's no stranger to say that he was struggling with that. I mean, obviously he committed suicide, and so I didn't know that he was like mentally weak at the time. I mean, it sounds bad of me to say, but that's what the truth is. And so, understanding that he was mentally weak, and that's what his decision was, because when suicide, that's a choice. You know, I mean, when someone passed away from cancer, like, they didn't choose to have cancer, and so when someone makes a choice like that, you can only imagine that they had a lot of other choices along the way. And so I didn't want that to ever happen to me. I didn't want to be the tough guy and not seek help, because I think personally, even with guys on the team, I am their help sometimes. It's like, I know I have buddies that come to me for things, and it's like, I'm not a therapist by any means. I am not certified in any way for that. But you know what? If that's what helps them, then I'm glad that I can help them.
What would you tell someone, especially another man or a teammate that came to you and said, hey, I might need help? How would you move them forward in that?
I would just first and foremost thank them for having the courage and having the trust in me to help them, because I think that's the hardest thing, is going to someone and being vulnerable to say, hey, can you help me with this? Like, it takes so much for someone just to have that quote unquote like first date, like with a therapist. Like, you only want a second date, right? You just want them to come back because you want to help them, and you're not gonna, as you learn through therapy, you're not gonna have the problem or the whole thing that you're going through, whatever it may be, isn't going to happen in a week. It's just not. And so it takes time, and so understanding that it does take time, and it takes energy, and it's gonna be exhausting. Those are all things that you should understand and realize before going to it. Do your homework, you know, just have some knowledge about it going into it before you do, and then you'll be a lot better suited for it.
Those are such wise words. Before I let you go, do you have any goals the rest of the season on the baseball field?
I mean, I just want to keep having fun, keep doing my thing. I mean, these guys are great. Being able to learn from them each and every day. This is a new level for me, like I said, and I'm no stranger to that. I don't owe the game anything, so I'm just gonna put it in God's hands, and hopefully, and He'll do what He wants to do. So,
thank you for your vulnerability. Thank you for being an advocate and sharing your story. I know it's going to help a lot of people, and best of luck moving forward on the field the rest of the year, man. Appreciate you.
Thank you, brother. I appreciate it.
That's Ryan Weiss. We'll be back with Zack on the road and to close out the Aces Loaded podcast after this. Welcome back to the Aces Loaded podcast. This is Zack on the road, and in this edition we'll talk about how the Aces roster was affected at the trade deadline in July by moves made to the Diamondbacks at and prior to the trade deadline. And we'll start in early July, where the D-backs acquired Keegan Curtis from the Yankees in exchange for Tim LeCastro. Keegan earned his first Aces save on July 31st, and he's fashioned a 2.08 ERA over his first 5 appearances with Reno, which is very, very good, especially in AAA West, a very tough league in which to pitch. Just prior to the deadline, the D-backs sent Eduardo Escobar to the Brewers, and part of the package the D-backs got in return was Cooper Hummel, who hit for the cycle in his second game with the Aces right here on July 31st in Sacramento. Cooper was originally drafted by Milwaukee out of the University of Portland. He's a Pacific Northwest kid, and his versatility is a huge asset as he catches and he'll play the outfield, so you'll see him play all over the diamond. Kind of like a guy you might know, Dalton Varsho, who, by the way, is back in Arizona and heating up. Dalton homered in 3 straight games from July 21st to July 24th and he's raised his average 50 points in that span. So great to see Dalton Varsho doing great things with the Diamondbacks. Also, congrats to Drew Ellis, who made his Major League debut on July 30th versus the Dodgers, and in that game he also collected his first big league hit, so congratulations to Drew. A reminder, the upcoming homestand versus Tacoma will get underway on Thursday the 5th. That will feature Thirsty Thursday to get it started, also Fireworks Friday, and that'll take us into a Margaritaville Saturday. If you want to find out more about those promotions, especially Margaritaville, visit renoaces.com, and there you can also get tickets for the upcoming homestand. The Aces are going to be gone for 12 after this homestand, so you want to make sure you get out to Greater Nevada Field while the guys are in town. We hope you enjoyed this edition of Aces Loaded. Thanks again to Ryan Weiss for joining us. I'm Zack Bayrouty, and we'll see you next time.